Hi, everybody. I'm Angela Dawn Murray, and this is First Base Dating. And today I would like to introduce my guests to you. And honestly, they both go by a couple of names, so I'm not really sure what to call these guys. So maybe I should just let them. So should I say Ringo? Should I say Tommy Tsunami? Well, I mean, what should I say?
I'm
Go ahead
Slick,
and
this is Slicker.
Slick and Slicker. I love it. I love it. Oh, ladies, I don't know if these were the right two to put on here. Not with those names.
But I'm really curious.
Uh-huh.
Because you had like 3 names, but I missed the middle one. It was, what's your middle name?
It's Dawn, like dawn of the morning.
Dawn.
Dawn. It's just
Dawn.
the way I
Like
say it.
Delta.
Like Delta Dawn.
Wow, we're going to have a performance today.
Absolutely.
Can you
I'm going to
sing
break
too?
out in song. Absolutely not. That is not one of my talents, by the way, at all.
Angela Dawn.
Angela Dawn.
That's, in Texas, we just string that thing out.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Yes,
Dawn.
absolutely. That's what I say. Hello and good night, and that's just the way we talk here.
Yeah,
It's
I
what-
love it.
That's how we do it.
That's how we do it here.
No,
That's
but
how we
that's
roll.
We got to catch them LA people up a little bit.
Oh, yeah,
They're a
that's
little
right.
bit, they're not
I tell
quite.
everybody, I say, I promise I'm intelligent. I just sound stupid. I promise.
No, it's okay.
slow
Texas
talk.
people definitely, we understand it. We got
Right.
it. Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
Now, when you talked to me earlier, you had a New York accent, so I don't know what you're trying to pull over on all of us here. This is
I
just
figured
a
I could
fake-
just wanted to show you my versatility,
yeah.
you being a movie producer and actor and all, guys. So we want to talk about that. Let's start with that. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us some of your, I guess, accolades. Would that be the right word?
Say that one more
Accolades? Would that be the right word? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been a plumber for almost 4 decades now.
Hey, you might as well add that to the list.
No,
too.
let me explain something to you. Plumbing is not an easy job. Neither's hammering. This is pretty good. There's hammering going on.
Yeah, the construction here, they're all over the place on this floor.
I was coming down
Right.
the hallway to get here earlier, and the plumbing guy, he said, "Can you hold this pipe for a minute?" And I'm then underneath the toilet holding the pipe while he's wrenching
Yeah.
the thing.
I was wondering what you were doing when I walked in there.
I
I was like, what do you guys got going on in here? Okay, now I
I'm just trying
understand.
to tell you. So that
As we say in the South, bless it. Bless it.
yes, bless your heart.
Bless it.
No, accolades, when you can fix a toilet, that's the best accolade you can
That's
get.
the best accolade you can get.
Right.
Hey, as far as relationships go, most women are looking for a fixer, somebody that can fix things for them.
That's
so,
right.
But ladies,
how I
he's
take my
taken.
wife.
So unfortunately, I'm sure his wife will not share him. So
To
we'll
fix
just
some
have to.
plumbing pipes, I can't even get that out.
Yeah.
Maybe so.
She rents me out now and then.
Oh, okay. Well,
My-
he's for rent, so there you go.
But just for as a hobby, sometimes I do a little work on TV.
Okay, so tell us some of that little bit of work you've done on TV.
The scary thing is we're getting old, TK.
Yeah, we are getting up there.
And it's so strange to look at your life work. Mm-hmm. And I used to be you used to be the kid. Remember when we?
I
were the
remember.
kid? And
It's been over
now-
20 years.
Over
Yeah.
try.
That was 20 years ago
you're
when we
old.
first met.
Yeah.
That was over
You're
20
old.
years ago when we first
Oh my
met.
gosh, were we kids then?
What I was.
Oh, thanks a lot.
I was in my low 30s.
Oh, my
I think you're
20
just a
years ago,
a touch
I
older
was
than
probably
me.
6,
Yeah, I know.
maybe.
Yeah,
You're a pup.
yeah. Yeah, you probably didn't see Tommy shows. Your mom and dad didn't let you stay up that late, so
Might
my
be a
God.
little bit old. I might remember a few of them.
catch the repeats,
Yeah.
catch the reruns
It's
right
scary
now.
when you got to go back like 4 decades.
Right.
And I just realized that. So we had a big actors strike over
Yeah.
the summer, and writers strike, and I'm doing all these interviews. I'm going, why are they all of a sudden everybody calling me for interviews about the actors strike? And they're going, well, you were like 40 years ago, you were walking the picket line
When they
in
had the first one.
1980.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not many of us left anymore. I'm going, so that's the only, okay,
Yeah.
so there we go. And I remember walking those picket lines when I was 19 years old in front of CBS television on Radford in Studio City. Mm-hmm. And listen, I was just happy to be there. It was a party for me. I was lucky to get paid any time, right?
Right.
And but we were out there with Mary Tyler Moore and Ed Asner, and I got lucky enough to work on the set, at CBS.
Yeah.
And all my friends from WKRP in Cincinnati, and we were having a great time. It really didn't matter what I made, but luckily, they fought for those contracts, because if they hadn't, later that money coming in really meant something. So
Right.
it was really important. And, you were talking about accolades and stuff, and I did some great work and had a lot of, really good times back in the early 80s. And, as a kid growing up in television, it was pretty neat. We were struggling, and we thought, is it ever going to get better? But then all of a sudden, 40 years later, you go, wow, all right. I just wanted to be guest starring on a show. That was a big deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Collect my $3,500 for that week.
Yeah.
And then,
Big money.
they
Oh,
dream
huge.
about having a show.
Yeah.
And now, I've been the lead in, I don't know, a dozen different series. And you go, what the heck?
Few more coming.
I don't know.
With a few more probably
Yes,
coming.
luckily, they still want to hire an old guy.
Hey.
Actually, I just fake them out. I'm really only 32,
Right.
and nobody's really going to know. But what sucks is the internet. It's the worst thing ever.
They catch up on
They
you.
Google you.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and they find out quick.
I Googled you.
No. So you found out I'm 33.
I wanted to find out everything that you had your hand in, so to speak. So I Googled you. And if the internet says it, it's got to be true.
It's gotta be
That's
true.
the thing.
Oh,
If
my
it
God.
says it on the internet, it's got to be
And
true.
we had a press release came out today, and we're excited about, so you can Google that. Hopefully, it's, my TV show To the Rescue, which is probably the best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
We rescue puppy dogs. So you
Yes,
guys watch
if you
To
haven't
the
seen
Rescue.
it, you guys got to tune
But
in.
we're going into our 5th season.
Wow, already?
I mean, to make it that
Seems
far.
like just started that. 5 years
Yes.
already. Wow. That's awesome.
And one of the best things, and I'm so happy to have my brother here, because the type of work that he's doing, and
Absolutely.
that I'm getting to be a part of this. I luckily I've had my hand in charitable work and trying to take care of, help with a little bit that I can give to humanity.
Right.
But nobody lives it like DK.
Well, it takes all you guys to help out,
No,
right?
listen.
I mean, we can't play a softball game. I can't do it by myself. So, having all you guys show up. And a lot of people don't know, Tommy actually was on the Hollywood celebrity team back in the early 80s.
Really?
Yeah, he pitched on that team. And now in the celebrity games, he's always full-time pitcher, too. And,
Yeah.
we've had some close shots. He's still got some good reflexes, thank goodness. But, yeah.
Who was that that tried to take my head off?
I think it was Phil Coke.
That
Might have been Cokie.
Coke.
Almost took it off.
I'm
so.
coming at you this year, Coke. Be ready.
He almost got one too last year because it went right by his. It went right by his earlobe, and we've had some. We definitely have the Angels in the outfield when we have those games. So for sure, no injuries, thank goodness, and everybody survives, and not too much blood, I guess, out of those games. So yeah, they always turn out to be a good thing.
Well, TK, and I'll come back to you in just a second, Tommy. Go ahead
Pass me
and
aside.
throw you away. Tell the audience what you do, or our viewers what you do.
Yeah, I have several companies myself, but I've worked with professional athletes and celebrities for over 20 years. That's actually how Tommy and I met. Actually, a good friend of ours, Michael Irvin, introduced us over lunch, like early 2000s.
Yeah,
so,
the Michael Irvin.
the MI called me and said, "You got to meet this guy. Get down here at Papados and meet him." And that's how I met Tommy. And our families just fell in love with each other. And my wife and his wife Claudia are about as close to sisters that aren't blood related as you can be. And getting to watch his children grow up, from pee-wees to now getting ready to go for college, and next one's in high school already. And it's just been a great experience. But the fun thing for me with Tommy is really getting to learn, working with pro athletes is one thing. Working with industry people is a whole entirely different deal. And Tommy's been from A to Z out there in the industry, from coming out of UCLA to doing comedy on Hollywood Boulevard with Rodney Dangerfield at his club, with Andrew Dice Clay and all them. And then,
Those are some big
probably one of the coolest things, I think, for me personally, being a Dick Clark fan, is that, Dick Clark grabbed Tommy and saw the potential and pulled him underneath his wing and kind of taught Tommy, like, this is how you do it in show business, right?
Yeah.
And so even though Tommy was doing a lot on the front side of the camera, he was doing even more on the back side of the camera.
Yeah.
And then it's funny because when he came out with Cheaters in the 2000s, he was the original host, and it's funny even today, if he and I are out having lunch somewhere or out doing something together, people will be like, hey, aren't you that guy off Cheaters? You're that Cheaters guy. And it's just funny to me that, like, oh my God, that's been like forever since you hosted that show, but they're still watching reruns and now syndicated around the world. I can only imagine what happens if he goes to Philippines or somewhere like that, what they'll think when they see him from watching all the reruns. But, you know, he's had a really cool life experience, just like I have from being around these individuals and being a U.S. Air Force veteran. It was, we were doing a bunch of black tie galas and stuff, and it was kind of like, how can we do something a little bit more fun that we could get more people involved with? And playing softball in the Air Force is kind of how we came up with the celebrity softball games. And there's a lot of people doing them, but you know, I would have to brag a little bit. I think ours is by far the best games that, you know, on the national level that I've seen out there. We usually have the funnest games, and we have the most variety of individuals that come and play and participate. It's a lot of fun.
And I think Tommy and I both can speak on that, since we both have been players in it. It is fabulous. It's a good cause. It's a wonderful thing that you do, and it is a whole lot of fun. So
it's
we
a
do
ton
have a
of
good
fun.
time.
Yeah, and it is, you know, it's about the fans, and that's the fun thing about the people who come play it like you guys. You know, it's always given time to go sign autographs, take pictures, take selfies, have fun.
Oh, yeah.
And the fans love it. And last year was our biggest year. We raised $450,000 for 15 different charities. And, you know, we're going for $1 million this year with a bunch of different charities as well. I think we're up to about 25 right now. But, yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, but it's more fun just to be in here. I'm not actually supposed to be here. I was just walking by and I saw these two here and I was like, hey, you know what? I'll just jump in with you guys and we'll have some fun today. So that's what we're doing.
Awesome.
We're going to change your name, though, to Johnny Cash Jr.
Well,
the man in black. The man in black.
No, you know what? The black, it thins you up a little bit. And, you know, I'm already getting 10 pounds added on the camera. So it's like I gotta do my best to scale it down a little bit. I can't be all beautiful like these two, TV ready all the time. So as you can tell with the bags underneath my eyes, some of us actually work for a living around this place. So
they have that stuff now.
Well, here's the bad news.
Actually,
I actually used Jessica's stuff before I came, and this is still what came out. So, you know, before with allergies going on, with the allergies, and yeah, I look like Mike Tyson hit me in both square in the eyes this morning before I even came. So, actually diving into my wife's drawer going, okay, I know she's got to have something in here for these bags. So,
Please,
yeah, no, it works a lot better on her than it does me, obviously.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, for me, no, not as much.
My wife, too, she goes, really, you're going to look at yourself? And I went, this is about as good as it gets, honey.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, I walk into the restroom. I'm like, what the hell are these two guys doing here at this toilet? And then Tommy's like, TK. And I'm like, oh, what are we doing here? I'm like, what's going on here? So you are. Okay. You doing a little side job here? I'm okay. Over up here at Jeff Crilly's place. Everybody's doing some work. Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
No, you know, listen, one of the things that it means so much, not only, you know, did you support us as a veteran and helping keep America safe and taking care of us, but what drove you to give back so much? Because you do so much for veterans. And so what in you, because a lot of guys are just struggling to get that out of their heads, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, you know, just the opportunity to be able to get back, right? When you have so many great friends and everybody's kind of like, what can we do? You know, everybody always has that type of mentality, like, what can we do? Yeah. And I get so many people that are like, hey, if you're got anything with Big Brothers Big Sisters coming up, you know, you've done stuff with us at Big Brothers Big Sisters as well, or you got this foundation or that foundation or this going on, like, hey, give me a call. I'd love to come help. And that's where the celebrity game was like, man, we can get a lot of people here at one time having fun. And you know, for us, it's not just a game because we've turned it into a whole weekend now. And it's really turned this year will be our 10th game. So we've turned it, it's almost a family reunion weekend now, as you know. And everybody loves to come. And we do the Friday night VIP, you know, invite-only party, and everybody's getting a mix and mingle. And then this year we're back to square one. We'll be at the swimming pool all day. Then we all head over to the, you know, to the ballpark that evening, have the game, and then we'll all come back to the hotel. But, you know, we'll have 800 to 1,000 people at the Friday night party, and it's pretty much everybody you know that will be there, right? And that's what makes it fun and makes it special. And just an opportunity to get back. And it's the one time a year that we all can actually get together because everybody's schedules are so busy. It's the one time a year that everybody's like, as soon as you find out when you're having a game, let me know so I can put it on my schedule so I don't miss it. And I think, what are we in, March? I already knew in January this year with the Rough Riders, you know, October 5th was going to be our game day. So we're way out ahead of it in front of this year. But with that being said, and being this show about love and surviving here, the Love Fest, that's what we got Tommy in here for today, because with this show, Cheaters, Angela is going to tee this up with a show about relationships.
First base dating.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, and it's not. I want to reach out and say this. It's not just a show about just singles. It's a show about relationships too, because obviously at some point we've all been in relationships that haven't worked, right? And so we like to hear from people who are still in relationships that are maybe still going strong, or maybe even sometimes if they're not going strong, there's been hurdles or whatever, but we need to hear from all of it, because it is relationships and it is dating. So that brings me back to what I wanted to ask you. So go ahead and tell me, from your show Cheaters, if you guys have ever watched that, I do want to tell you a little bit of backstory about that. So when it first came out and we were watching this, I know I'm from a very, very small town, and so everybody, you would hear somebody like, maybe, when the gossip, so-and-so's cheating on so-and-so or whatever, and I'd be like, oh, I'd hate for that van to pull up on you, that Cheaters van. Everybody was all about the Cheaters van, and it was kind of a funny thing, and it's like, oh, I would call somebody, and I would have him set up, and I'd have his ass on TV and all that kind of stuff,
I think when Cheaters came out, we didn't really have social media like we do now.
Oh, no,
right?
no.
Where people are like putting
really
a lot of their stuff out on social media today.
Yeah.
And
yeah, for sure.
Not so private anymore on things that are happening out there in the world, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So, and actually, the first time we met, this is one thing Michael Irvin said. It's funny you say that, because he was like, hey, if you ever see this white panel van pull up and Tommy jumps out with a microphone and the camera guy, you are in a lot of trouble, bro.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
So that was one of the first things he told me about Tommy too. Is like, if you see this van and Tommy pops out, you're in the wrong place. I can promise you.
Absolutely.
So, and it's even worse when you find out as time has gone. A lot of my friends have been like, I was on that show, and I was like, dude, were you really?
No way.
Yeah, there's a few people that, unfortunately,
gosh.
But go ahead, Tommy. Tee it up.
Like the song Shaggy says, it wasn't me.
It wasn't me. Yeah, it wasn't me. Yeah, until it's you. Camera never lies.
Oh, God.
So
yes,
go ahead. Tell them how that thing all got together, because it's phenomenal.
Yeah, listen, it was a phenomenon. We really, I met this dude, and he said, what if we filmed people cheating on each other? And I said, listen, within 2 years, I'll have that show on the air. And I built every frame of it, and not really knowing there wasn't really reality TV.
Yeah.
Right.
We were just going down this path, and you never know what you're going to have, because it was just a tight crew making this thing, and we're going, God, is anybody going to want this? Is crazy. I don't even know if the stations would air this crazy thing.
Yeah. I want to jump in real quick, because I have a question. When you just said that, when you said that the social media, all that stuff wasn't really out, but you filmed for about 2 years before it got on the air. So how did you how did people contact you? Was it through a private investor? Just out of curiosity, how did that work?
Yeah, so, I've been in this business a while, and I know the power. We didn't have social media, but the power of the press.
Oh, yeah.
So I had a friend that back then, in those days, there was a National Enquirer and Star Magazine, and that's what you saw at the grocery store, right?
Yeah.
At the checkout counter.
Or at your grandma's house.
Yes.
Yeah.
by our chair.
Oh, 100%.
By our little rocking chair.
100%.
Yeah, so a friend of mine was the editor of Star Magazine in Chicago.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of passing through Dallas. Texas. I didn't think I was going to stay. I was coming from New York back to L.A.
Yeah.
And then this whole thing happened, but anyway, we shot the pilot of it. And in the pilot, this woman, accidentally got her nose broken. There's this whole thing. They were wearing a tight van, and the she was hitting the husband. His elbow flew, hit her in the nose. Blood's going everywhere. The camera guys, they didn't know what to do. They go, oh my God, and start turning the camera off. I said, no, roll.
Keep rolling.
Baby.
Roll.
And so I edited this thing together, and my first call was my buddy at Star, and I said, listen, I need, just give me a blurb. We're going to roll this thing out into syndication, and I need a little bit of press. And he said, well, send me, back then it was a VHS tape.
Oh, yeah.
So I FedExed him a VHS tape to be there at 8 in the morning. So by 8:45, my phone rings, and he goes, I've never seen anything like this. He says, I'm on my way to Dallas tomorrow, and I want to be part of a bus. And I went, oh, my God, okay, I guess this is good stuff. He came down, and he gave me 2 pages, in the magazine, and the rest was history because the press got a hold. Before we were even on the air, I was doing hundreds of talk shows, and everybody, next thing I know, I'm talking to Harvard law school, and they're going, how can you do this? This isn't right,
Wow, Harvard.
Yeah,
Who knew? Who knew?
So it was crazy, the explosion.
Yeah.
But then we still had to clear TV stations. Mm-hmm. And so in the country, everybody was panicked. They're going, listen, we can't air this thing. And there was, when we rolled out in September of 99, I believe it was, we only had like 10% of the country, these small little stations, and everybody's going, we're not risking airing this crazy show.
Yeah.
But there was one program director in a market in New Orleans, Louisiana, and she was brand new, and she took the show. And a week before it aired, the president, it was a station group, called me up and said, we're not in. Dave's not home.
So there's construction
Little
going
construction
on
going
this
on all
floor,
over this whole
so
building.
If you hear the knocking, that's what it is.
I love it. All right, so the president of the group calls me up and says, Tommy, I just want you to know I hate this show, and there's no way I would air this show, and this program director, I'm going to fire her. And I went, no, what are you talking about? Don't fire her, just don't air the show.
Right.
Yeah.
And he goes, nope, it's too late. So this thing's going to air, and when it fails, she's fired. And I went, please don't air the show. And we needed New Orleans. I mean, we didn't have that.
You
was the
just
biggest
didn't want to
market.
put that. You didn't want to be responsible for her getting
Well, no,
fired.
of course not. And so he goes, it's too late. So in our industry, we get a thing called overnight ratings, and in the bigger markets, and New Orleans gets an overnight rating, so you know what they did.
Yeah.
Well, they put us on right after Saturday Night Live, and they promoted it a little bit in New Orleans, and then Saturday Night Live came on, and then we came on, and we're all holding our fingers. And Monday, he calls me up, and he goes, all right. He goes, Saturday Night Live, your lead-in, did a 4.5. Cheaters did a 5.6.
Right.
And I went,
Wow.
He goes, it's a fluke. I know this is a fluke. Nobody's going to really want to watch this silly show.
Right.
He goes, I'm going to give it one more week chance, and then I'm firing her. And I said, don't do that.
Right.
And he goes, too late. The next week, Saturday Night Live did a 5.4. Cheaters did a 8.6.
Yeah.
And
You actually probably pull people into Saturday Night Live getting ready for your show.
Yeah.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, and it just gained popularity. He called me up that next Monday and goes, dadgummit. He goes, all right, we're going to take it across all our stations. And they had like 30% of the country.
Oh, yeah.
So within months, we were in over 90% of the country. And, it was
Just went
it was
nuts.
history. Yeah. It was silly.
No,
And-
but people like it because it's relatable. Does that make sense? Even if it's not you or an experience that you've had in a relationship, you have a friend or you have a family member, you know somebody, or you know how gossip is. They add to it and make the story even better or whatever, and then it ends up being way more than what it was. But people, it's that connection to it, I think. That's why people want to watch it.
We've all felt that empty feeling in our stomach
Yeah.
that you didn't know in a relationship.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah,
if
you're totally
if somebody actually was cheating on you or not, you felt that, and
Yeah.
it's not a good feeling.
Yeah.
And my whole job was, people came to me in trouble, and I've counseled over 1,000 couples, and now I feel like I could get my damn PhD. Can I say "damn" on this show?
Well, you did, so I mean, cheers to you.
But people, some of them just couldn't afford a detective. They just needed to know the truth. Many of them just wanted to get even and said, listen, you find out, we're going to expose you.
So you did this for free?
National TV. Yeah. Well, and sometimes, if we busted a guy and he had enough money to not air the show, then I would take the cash. There are times that we have to do that. I'm not going to mention anything.
$20 is
Yeah, Jerry.
$20.
No, I'm just kidding. Jerry, I'm just teasing. I promise you.
Let me ring AT&T Stadium, please.
You know what I mean? No, listen, for me, it had a different meaning.
Yeah.
Right. I needed to help people get the truth. People, they would look and go, why were you tearing up? Well, because I had a heart for these people. They were their lives were torn apart, and they just needed to know the truth.
Yeah.
And so that's
Well, and a lot of times too on the show, you could see you were counseling the people, and even after they found out, you're trying to help them out, and even whoever got busted, the guy or girl, because it went both ways a lot of times.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you also remember it's kind of like you had Jerry Springer and those type of shows in the '90s that were blowing up, right? And now all of a sudden you got a Jerry Springer basically live show, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen, and I think that's kind of the intriguing part. Like,
Yeah.
I can't wait till she busts his rear end, right, on this deal, and or as a female or as a guy going, wait till he finds out he catches his wife, right? And but yeah, it's kind of at the end of the show, you're almost like just got a knot in your stomach from just feeling for these people.
Yeah.
Watching what they went through too, right?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Of just the stress and the heartache and and even finding out the truth, which is sometimes the harder part, right? Of just actually getting the truth, right? In relationships. And it's just not fun, but it makes for great TV, and I'm just glad I never was on that show, so thank God.
Right.
So, I mean, let me tell you, for about a year and a half after meeting Tommy, every time you see a white panel van, you're like,
He's like,
am I parking my vehicle here, or like, who's in that van over there? Like,
right.
not that I'm in the wrong place. I just don't need anybody jumping out with no camera on me. So,
Right. Or it was a business lunch, I swear.
yeah, I promise. Yeah.
I got a lot of free lunches and dinners from restaurants going, we'll send you all the food you want. Don't come in here.
Do not bring that here.
Even if I'm just going to have dinner,
Yeah.
all of a sudden you knew what was going on. I'd walk in and there'd be 2 or 3 people getting up and leaving, thinking, oh,
Right.
they're coming. They're coming.
I can see that. Like,
Restaurant managers are going,
Okay.
really,
So,
find another place to eat dinner.
Right.
I'll send dinner home for you.
right.
but that's almost confessing guilt without confessing guilt. When you walk in the cheaters host to a restaurant and you see 3 or 4 people look at you and get up and leave because they think they might be the
You
victim.
know something's going on.
Yeah.
You're honestly lucky to even be alive, truthfully. I'm sitting here thinking about, like, you're lucky that.
Thanks for bringing that
Yeah.
up. Now you're putting a target on
Yeah,
me.
well, it's over it now. I mean, luckily there's a new host, and it's actually syndicated now. A lot of people don't. Again, it got syndicated.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so it
Was
was
that
the
popular?
second run, and the show's had all kind of different iterations, and what's fun is we're developing something that they want me to try out for daytime television.
yeah, that's going to be fun.
So a new project.
So we can't talk too much about it, but my friend Jerry and passed away. God rest your soul, Jerry. But Maury retired, and so my phone was ringing, and they
Might be the new
have
Tommy
an
Haybeam
afternoon
show.
spot. You don't know.
Just don't know.
Could be the new
But
Tommy
we're gonna-
Haybeam show.
We're going to shoot a couple
Stay
things and see what it feels like.
Maybe if you get on there, you can bring in the past cheaters people and see how they're doing now.
Yeah, it's for sure.
That's
always-
actually that's
always
a
do a-
thought
well,
to see what happens.
Here's the thing: I don't want to go backwards.
Yeah, I don't blame
Yeah.
We're doing things with technology
Oh, yeah.
today,
Oh, yeah.
and we're taking it a step further. It's going to be young and new and fresh, but just
you. It is
crazy.
funny when you go in Tommy's
And
studio.
we'll be relationship related, correct?
Well, there's a
Some
couple
of it.
relationships involved.
Yeah.
That's where all of the excitement is.
Exactly. It is.
You're
It is.
smiling like a Cheshire cat.
I just
so does
can't
that
wait
mean
to
you're
see
doing
what you got.
relationships? Is that what this show's about?
Yeah, just a
The
little
drama
bit.
of
Just
relationships?
a little bit. Yeah. And getting past it and then just trying to find love again for some people. So
One
what
thing my
works and
dad
what
always
don't
said
work.
when I was even in high school, he would say, if you have to cheat on your girlfriend, then you need to find a new girlfriend. And you need to be man enough just to be like, this ain't going to work. Right? Which is still hard, too, for young guys, because you never want to hurt nobody's feelings. And even when sometimes relationships probably should be ended, they have a tendency to keep hanging on because nobody wants to hurt the other person, vice versa.
Yeah.
And you just kind of hang in there until
yeah.
you pretty much go right off the cliff, right?
Yeah.
And it's better just to rip the Band-Aid sometimes and go communicate and go, it's just not going to work.
All right. What,
Guy or girl. I mean, even if you're a female and you're not, and you just realize this ain't going to be it, go tell your guy. Guys, same thing. If it's,
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
instead of doing that, right? Because I don't know what's worse. What would be worse? Telling somebody like, "Hey, I'm not in love with you no more, and we kind of need to stay friends and go our separate ways," or be that individual that is cheating on that person, and then now you're that guy, right? I would rather be the guy that tore the Band-Aid and just said, "Hey, it ain't going to work."
I don't jump on that for a second because I have a lot of close guy friends. So we talk about relationships and things that work and what they don't work. And I think a lot of times it's not that the guy, and again, I'm not making an excuse. It's more an explanation, if you will. So a lot of these guys are not in that stage in their life where they're ready to make that full commitment. And, like you said, things have evolved. And so it's so much easier with social media or apps or whatever for that hookup, right? Mm-hmm. So if you can have the best of both worlds, then you're just human, right? Why wouldn't you do that? So I feel like sometimes even good guys, I feel like they categorize women, so to speak, if they're not at that place to make that commitment. So they may say, "Oh, I met this girl. She's wife material. I'm going to put her over here." And then, but this one's fun. This one's fun to do things with. Maybe I don't see her as wife material and that kind of thing. But what's happening with the girls over here that may potentially be wife material or relationship material, they're still wanting to play. But they'll just keep jumping back and keeping that one on a string or saying or doing whatever they have to do so they don't lose that one, right? Until they get ready to jump in and make that commitment. Then before you know it, if this one assumed they were the only one, then all of a sudden they're hurt because they feel like the guy's cheating or whatever. So again, it's very exhausting.
Well, I think, women, I'm sitting here thinking like, I'm so glad I'm married. I think the biggest thing is that young women need to understand is that they mature a lot faster than guys do.
You're absolutely
right.
And,
even in my own relationship where, yes, this is the love of my life. I want to be married to my wife, Jessica, but also like hanging with my buddies, right? Mm-hmm. And there's that buddy element. I want to go be with my buddies. Mm-hmm. And so luckily my wife put up with a bunch of my immature craziness early on in our relationship and marriage to the point where I finally grew out of it, I would say.
Yeah.
And understood, you got now you got kids and now you're like, okay, now I'm out of that, right? So, but again, when women that are in that situation, like late 20s, early 30s, that are like, okay, I've got my career going, I'm kind of looking for that next level. Guys are still running crazy at that point, a lot of them, right?
Yes,
and so that's kind of the tricky situation.
And they're not bad guys. I mean, I think society's so quick to say, "Oh, those guys are a piece of what," or "That guy's not, he's not good," or just because maybe they did something between, high school and college years or whatever. They're like, "Oh, they were wild. They were with every girl in town or whatever," and that kind of stays with them. And those guys can never get past that, even though they may be actually at a different stage in their life and that may not be of interest to them anymore.
Right.
So it's hard to.
Well, again, it's always your environment. If you're in a small town like that, yes, you're in. And I came from a very small town in Southeast Missouri, and and I love all my people there, but it's Recycleville. Mm-hmm. Right? Because people get married very young in Southeast Missouri. When I was coming out of school in the 80s, you either went to college or you probably got married and found a job.
Yes.
Started a family. But again, you're both very, very young. Mm-hmm. And then mid-20, late 20, early 30s, everybody's wanting to go their different direction. And then now you're dating somebody else that you probably went to school with or know somebody, or somebody else already had a relationship, married somebody else. And again, it's Recycleville.
Yep.
Right? And it's unfortunate but again, you only have that small little pond of to actually do any shopping, right? Where in Dallas-Fort Worth, if you were to be married and get divorced, you probably have a better opportunity not to have to run in your spouse again.
True.
True. Maybe while you're up in this level, right?
Right.
And I think the other thing is too, you're also where you're going to find your spouse, right? So if you're a college kid or you're a young adult, you're running in the stockyards, and girls are in the stockyards running. Probably you might find a good time. I don't know, you're going to find a husband, right? Now, there's a good opportunity to meet somebody, and then you can further along, like, okay, where are you biblically? Are you a churchgoer? Are you this? Are you that? Like, what's your, and again, it always goes back to communication, right?
Yeah.
And again, thank God for my wife, the tutor, because I was horrible at communication for the longest time, and she was really good at it. And it took me a while to actually catch up with her to understand and be able to communicate back, and also process what she's telling me instead of listening to it go right over my head.
Yeah, and you know, when I started this show for both of you guys, y'all are very successful men. You're very busy. You have a lot of things that you do. So we talked about before that being a strain on relationships. So how do you two guys manage that? All those things that you do, the projects that you have, television shows, your charities, all those things. How do you manage that and have those relationships too with your spouses?
Our spouse, like, there's probably nobody we don't know that our spouses don't know. For me personally, I know with people that I know Tommy knows. I know his wife knows. If he knows a female, Claudia's going to know female.
That's
if
great.
TK knows a female, Jessica's going to know that female.
Yeah.
And so there's very, very few even associates that are female that my wife wouldn't know.
We came up with a solution.
So I want to hear it.
No, it's kind of interesting. I didn't think my wife would come up with this idea, but there's a show called Sister Wives, and she's been throwing this idea out there. She goes, if we could get this sister wife that could do the laundry, and then we get another.
Good luck with that. There's no way. I'm good with my one.
I am not mad at her.
I'm good at
before.
my
I
one.
said
Trust
in a
me.
past relationship,
I'm absolutely good
I
with
told
my
him,
one.
I
I don't
said-
need a. I don't even need a 2 or 3 or 4. I can
No,
only do one right
no,
now.
I
I would never be able to do more than one.
My God.
Actually, the wives came up with a solution.
Yeah.
They hold the checkbook.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
so if you
Yeah.
want them,
Yeah.
take them.
Yeah.
But hopefully you can afford them, because I'm holding this money over here. So
You
no
know,
worries.
I'm at the point of my life that I kind of probably agree with your wives, because on that I'm like, why does the side chick always get the fun? We do the laundry, we take care of you, we cook, bring her over and let her, help out here. Let her
Sister
share
Wife
in it.
thing was very popular. This dude had like 5 wives, and then
I don't know how you
now, and it made it about 6-7 years. Now it's all imploding.
Oh,
And
it's all over
I think
the place.
He's living in an apartment by himself now because all the wives.
Did
All you had to do is watch
seriously
Big
though,
Love when that show was out and go, okay.
Does
Absolutely
anybody
not.
think a man that can handle 5 women, much less do good to handle
No.
one?
No.
That's kind of a recipe.
Well, and
for-
again, that kind of goes back to what you just said too. Like, again, even with stages, when you're first together, everything's great.
Yeah.
You're in love. You're
Smooth,
traveling.
it's
You're
fresh.
doing vacations. You're doing all this. You get married, then you have kids, but you still got a corporate job. Maybe your wife has a corporate job. You got kids. And that's where there's a span of almost 18, 20 years where the wife goes from being wife sometimes to being mom.
Yes.
And the one thing that you have to, as a man, you have to always remember is that she's pulling like triple duty compared to you're doing your job.
Hey, stop.
And
Hey,
yeah, no, I know how the wives are. So, but the reality is, again, as a man, you have to also just be able to learn how to constantly date your wife, right? Because that's I
true.
think where a lot of people kind of where it goes, where your wife is so inundated with this, the guy's inundated with having to do this, and if the husband and wife still doesn't take time to still date, treat each other like day one, that's where it goes haywire, right? And you and I talked like it was crazy to me. And my oldest son graduated high school, and a lot of our friends now are empty nesters, and they were getting divorced, and I was like, why are they getting divorced now? Now it's time to get back to honeymoon.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they put all this work in, and now they're getting divorced now?
Yeah.
Like, it just didn't make sense to me. But as I started talking to some, it did make sense, because they never once they kind of went their different. They never really connected again. And then when it was at that point, they kind of had just, there's nothing between us anymore, right?
Yeah.
Our kids are gone.
Yeah.
There's nothing really between us. So now what? And that's the one thing I think for husbands and wives, even with kids. Families are phenomenal. It's great having kids, but you just have to be very careful that you don't make it all about the kids.
No, and I agree with you. I'm obviously not the perfect wife, but I did try really hard to give my spouse attention that I felt like he needed, because and I think you and I discussed this, whenever you get married, sometimes you get so caught up in the kids that that's your focus. And that's why adults, when the kids are gone, they don't know even how to react to each other anymore.
Well, you got to
but-
remember too, when that's happening, you probably have an immature husband as a male. He's probably still immature because guys are just at that level. Like if it's
When you
late
first
20s
get
and even
married.
30s,
Yeah.
they're still kind of
Yeah.
immature. You know, there's some guys that advance faster than others.
Yeah.
I've always been a slow learner, unfortunately. So again, thank
Took
God
you
for
a
my
while.
wife to, and it takes a few relationships to, to where you finally go, okay, I've been through this. Now I found the perfect one.
Yeah.
Right. And like Tommy, same thing. It took him a while before he married Claudia. So, he had kind of been there, done it, and was like, okay, this is the love of my life. This is it. And the other thing is, and I learned from Tommy is, wherever you go, your wife should be going with you. And, you're not going to find too many things that Tommy's doing that Claudia's not with him, and vice versa with me and Jessica, that there's not going to be too many things I'm doing that she's not right there with me as well.
Yeah.
And that also always helps the situation.
Yeah.
Actually, for us, we get a lot of the accolades, but our wives are our best assets. That's the truth. It really
they
is the
always
truth.
say from years ago, a man is as good as the woman that he chooses.
Mm-hmm.
And I still believe that to this day, because you choose a woman to be a partner or a helpmeet. And so that partner should strengthen you.
Mm-hmm.
That partner should bring out the best in you, right? So I do agree with you. When
And
it comes to
the
that.
other partner should be doing the same thing, right? It's always a
Absolutely.
vice versa.
Absolutely.
So it's we always we have to lock arms. That's the one thing Jessica and I always like. Hey, we have to stay locked.
Yeah.
Especially when you're as handsome as guys like
Oh
us.
gosh,
If we didn't have,
saying,
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
I'm
keep the women
saying,
off.
yes.
So they have to
You
be
just have to
with
beat
us.
them off.
So the wives have to be with us to
Yeah.
because it.
Most of them walk by and hug our wives, and they're like, "We're so sorry. I mean, we love you guys. I don't know how you guys fell for these two, but
Yeah.
okay, we love you guys."
For
So-
some reason, I keep hearing that. How in the world, Tommy? And I went, I tricked her.
I always tell everybody my wife didn't get her eyesight until about 5 years in, so she didn't really have a choice. So
don't know how
by
to
then it
know.
was too late. But no, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's. So you were married.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get down in the dirt about the husband. Is there
Yeah, because we got 2 minutes left on this. We got 2 minutes to finish.
Yeah.
Let's close this thing with the axe. Let's really go.
So the one thing that I will say for me, and I think that is important, for me out here as a woman myself, when it comes to my personal relationships, I try to be really respectful. Are there things that made me angry? Are there things I didn't like? Are there things? Could I give
us
you
one
whole
little-
list? A whole list?
dirty little thing.
He didn't know what he had. That's his
Wow.
worst
That's
thing.
it.
He
No,
didn't know what he had.
usually
He didn't
that's usually where the
appreciate-
guys are. Yeah.
He didn't appreciate what he had. And I really believe that if you were asked to ask him that same question today, I think maybe he would be honest enough to say, she was a good wife, And again, it could have been the immature. It could have been a lot of things, but I still try to keep that part of my life private. So,
No, I think when people look back, a lot of people always say, because it gets boring.
yeah.
It's not boring when you're dating.
Yeah.
It's not really boring when you start having kids. But then, again, everybody gets busy. And then life kind of becomes a little boring sometimes to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then you always think, well, the grass is greener.
Yeah.
And you start venturing into this other pasture. And then what happens is, unfortunately, if you end up in a divorce, you're probably realizing afterwards that, like, the grass wasn't greener. And I really did have a good, unbelievable wife or unbelievable husband.
Yeah.
And now what? Now I've got to go figure this out again, right? And that's just the thing today. I mean, relationships are tough. I mean, they're God ordained. So you already know from the minute you get married, it's not going to be easy in anything you do, right? I mean, it's going to be a constant trying to get you divorced, broke up, you name it. And you just have to, again, lock arms and stay strong with each other and, go to church or temple or,
Right.
Whatever you need
Why'd
to
you
do
look
to
at me
keep
with
going.
temple? I don't know.
Well, we
You
got
go to
we got
church.
the.
I'm Catholic.
I got my Jewish brother, and then you got the Gentiles, the Gentiles and the Jews. Maybe that'd be a show.
Guys,
Gentiles
I
and
hate to break it up, but we are out of time for today. I'd love these guys to come back for a part 2. This was very interesting. Enjoyed having you guys, and I just want to say, stay tuned for our next episode on First Base Dating. Good night.